there. Welcome to our online yoga and meditation gathering. My name is Amy Armistead. I am the pastor of The Gathering Place, this new, inclusive, fresh community in Daytona and Ormond Beach. But you can engage from us from anywhere. That's the way the world works now. You're probably watching this online. So, welcome. We are so excited to be joined by Alejandra Salemi, who is a Harvard Divinity student. She's a yoga instructor, and she's going to be leading us in today's practice. So thank you, Ale, for sharing your gifts with us and for leading us through this practice. And our intention today is finding the sacred in the ordinary. After Easter, we are going to be starting a new series called Sacred, God in the Everyday, and that you're going to be able to tune in online Sunday evenings for that worship experience. That we're calling them worship gatherings. But for today, we want to start out by noticing moments that are sacred in the everyday. And I have this book here. It's called Liturgy of the Ordinary, written by Tish Harrison Warren. And she says this about the ordinary life of Christ, because Scripture documents really 3 years, and of course Jesus' birth as well. But it really documents just a couple years in Christ's life, and he died when he was 30, around 33 is what scholars estimate. So there's a lot that goes unrecorded. There was a lot of mundane, ordinary, just living that Christ did. So here are her thoughts on that. Christ's ordinary years are part of our redemption story. Because of the incarnation and those long, unrecorded years of Jesus' life, our small, normal lives matter. If Christ was a carpenter, all of us who are in Christ find that our work is sanctified and made holy. If Christ spent time in obscurity, then there is infinite worth found in obscurity. If Christ spent most of his life in quotidian ways, then all of life is brought under his lordship. There is no task too small or too routine to reflect God's glory and worth. So let's be honest, most of our life is not spent on those mountaintop moments, but in just small, ordinary ways. That's what makes a life. So I invite you to find some sacred in the ordinary today. And this might be your moment. So I invite you to find a comfortable position, maybe grab a yoga mat or a towel, go outside, and Ale is going to lead us in this practice. So this week, find ways that are extraordinarily ordinary, and where can you find the holiness in the midst of it? Don't forget to connect with us. There's a connection form attached to this. We want to know that you're with us. It's also a great way to stay connected with the Gathering Place and find ways that you can plug in maybe a small group, maybe through a hike. We do monthly hikes. Or maybe you're really excited about our upcoming worship coming up. So find a way to plug in. Thanks for joining us.
If you're feeling comfortable, you can go ahead and find a squat on your mat. You can either sitting on your knees. I want to start today's practice just kind of grounding ourselves a little bit, thinking about this ordinary life, this ordinary moment, this ordinary yoga class as something that is beautiful and sacred, and potentially even sacramental, something that is nourishing for our bodies, something that can bring us closer to ourselves, to the divinity within ourselves and around us, to the sacredness of this life. I think we often perceive spirituality or the sacred as something that is a fluke or unique or special for special occasions. And I wonder what it would look like if we started looking at the sacred as everything around us, as the most ordinary, simple moments in our lives. Today during this practice, I really want to cultivate the spirit of kind of infinite wonder, infinite appreciation for the sacredness that is around us, especially as we start transitioning into a world that is vaccinated, that allows us to do things that once that we weren't able to for a while. I wonder what it looks like to always return back to the ordinary, to the moments shared at home with loved ones, to having so much time for being self introspective. And these are ordinary moments that hopefully we'll come back to as we go on into our lives past this pandemic. And so I really hope that this practice can help us figure out how to ground ourselves through this process, so that we can be amazed and in wonder with the world around us at all times, not just in those special moments. So if you're feeling comfortable, go ahead and find me on a tabletop position. You're going to want to make sure your wrists, elbows, and shoulders are in a direct line, keeping in alignment. You're going to want to have a neutral back. Just take a couple of deep breaths here. You'll be allowing yourself to check some of those recurring thoughts outside of your mat, so that here you can just be just yourself, letting your mind be present in this moment, rather than being stuck in an event that happened in the past or anxious about an event that is happening in the future. We are here on our mat. We are here together in this ordinary, beautiful moment. One more inhale here. Exhale. On the next inhale, we're going to drop our chest, lift our tailbone, and come into cow. And on the next exhale, we're going to push our shoulders up, pushing against the mat, and curving our back into a nice cat. Feel free to wiggle it out a little bit. Another inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. Really pushing, opening up the shoulder blades. Take 2 more breaths here at your own pace, oscillating between cat and cow. Maybe adding some nice curved spine, some spinal twists here as well if it suits your practice. We're trying to warm up our spine. Also trying to warm up our wrists as we get ready to do some downward dogs and some chaturangas, things that definitely put a lot of demand on our wrists. For the next inhale, you're going to meet me at a neutral tabletop. Tuck your toes underneath your ankles. And on the exhale, we're going to push up to our first downward dog. If this is the first downward dog you've done today or in a while, you might be a little bit sticky, a little bit tight in your legs. I'm doing this as my morning yoga, and I'm definitely feeling the cobwebs from a good night's rest last night. So I'm just going to walk out my dogs gently, allowing my hips, my quads, my calves to feel stretched. Getting that juicy stretch in the legs. Taking one more inhale here, maybe coming to a static downward dog. Exhale. On the next inhale, we're going to bend our knees, and then on the exhale, slowly walk ourselves up to the top of the mat. Hang out here for just a moment. Maybe bringing your hands to opposite elbows, coming into a ragdoll pose. Letting your spine kind of waterfall over your knees. Maybe you have a slight bend in your knees as you, again, warm up your legs for the first time today, possibly. bask in this moment. Many times have we bent over to try to touch your toes, even just casually stretching throughout the day. An ordinary movement, which also is sacred as we invest in ourselves, invest in our bodies, invest in our mental health, and come together to do this flow. One more breath here. Exhale, release your hands down to the mat. Inhale, we're going to halfway lift. Hands come up to the shins. Trying to create a nice flat back with your back. Extending out your spine, extending out your neck. On the exhale, we're going to come down again. Hands to the floor. And on the inhale, we're going to root to rise slowly, one vertebrae at a time. All the way up into Tadasana, mountain pose. Closing your eyes here if it's something that you're comfortable with. Just taking a breath. And exhaling. Maybe already feeling our spine, our legs warm up a little bit. Feeling our blood pumping. On the next inhale, we're going to circle our hands all the way up. And exhale, swan dive all the way forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step or hop up, back into a plank. Take an inhale here. And exhale, push all the way down, releasing at the bottom so that you're on your mat. We're going to continue here with doing a couple of Cobras. So, starting with belly down Savasana. Even our cheeks are on the mat. Our toes are untucked behind us. So that the top of our foot is touching the mat. With your elbows by your sides. And back to a neutral neck. On the inhale, we're going to lift up into a Cobra. Hold it here for just a breath, really feeling your lower back muscles activating, lifting yourself up, keeping your neck neutral. And on the exhale, we're going to release down. We do that 2 more times. Inhale. And exhale. And one last time. Inhale. And exhale. Beautiful. On the next inhale, we're going to place our hands underneath our shoulders, tuck our toes behind us, and without thinking too much about it, push up into a plank. And on the next inhale, we will find ourselves back in a downward dog. We need a chance to walk it out just a tiny bit, still allowing ourselves to be warming up, giving ourselves grace. On the next inhale, we're going to bend our knees back, and on the exhale, slowly walk, jump, hop to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise all the way up into Tadasana. We're going to do a quick sun salutation just to get some more active movement going. Transition into a standing posture, and then finish out with some wonderful, beautiful stretching on the floor, a little bit of a seated posture as well. As always, this is all just a suggestion. I am here just to suggest things that might help you create something sacred out of this ordinary moment. But also know that you are your own best teacher, and your body is your own best guide. So listen to it. Maybe amp it up as you see fit, or amp it down as is necessary. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, step, hop, jump to the back of your mat. Inhale, sustain here. Exhale, chaturanga, either all the way down or immediately push into an upward dog or cobra. Exhale. Hips to the sky, downward dog. One more breath here. Bend your knees on the next inhale. And on the exhale, step, hop, jump to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, root to rise all the way up. Tadasana, sun salutation A. Here, maybe step into the middle of your mat. You don't have to, you can sit at the top of your mat. I just personally like to be centered in my space. We're going to do a little bit of a standing posture, just playing around, having a little bit of fun. Fun ought to be ordinary, and fun most definitely is sacred. Planting your left foot down all the way into the mat, we're going to bring our right foot up, almost like we're stepping on a box or on a step in front of us. Holding it here, making sure that we're not leaning back to have our leg up, but using our lower core muscles to really lift that leg up, flexing our toes so you can almost see the footprint underneath my foot. Now you're welcome to stay here, or you can bring your foot up into the inner portion of your thigh, falling over a little bit. Now there's different variations of what you could stay here. You can have it all the way up to the inner thigh. You can bring it all the way down to the calf. You can have it kind of like a kickstand. Whatever you do, just avoid your knee just to protect the integrity of your joint there. Weird little design because it seems like our foot fits perfectly into our knee, but it actually is really dangerous for it. So again, finding a position that works for you and just really settling into this beautiful tree pose. From here, you can kind of grow your branches. Can't really see it, but I'm holding my hands up, kind of like I'm doing a YMCA dance. Also bring them to your hips. If you want an extra challenge, you can close your eyes here. Really challenge your balance. Becoming a tree that is moving and shaking in the wind, but staying steady despite the challenge. One more breath here. On the next inhale, we're going to come back the way we started, so stepping into that imaginary box in front of you. And on the exhale, we're going to bring our foot right back down to the mat. Shaking out that foot, releasing all of that built up lactic acid that we may have built up. On the next inhale, we're going to do the same thing on the other side, bringing our left foot up into that imaginary step, flexing our left toes, finding stability with our right as it anchors down. Again, you can stay here or bringing your foot up to maybe inner thigh, maybe your calf, maybe just a kickstand. Again, growing your trees as you see fit. Closing your eyes to experience the wind as it challenges you and moves you. Take a couple of breaths here. What do you hear? What do you smell in this ordinary moment, in this practice, in a place where you've probably been in hundreds of times, an ordinary place? Is it sacred? Do you see the divinity within the space you're at? On the next inhale, we're going to release our foot back the way it started, stepping on that box and then step in front of us, and exhale it all the way back down to the mat. Again, giving maybe your legs a wiggle, releasing that lactic acid from the work that I just did. Here, we're going to come into a chair pose, and it's going to be used as a transition as we get into the floor, as we sit into the floor. So we're going to get into a chair pose and lower it down slowly and slowly and slowly. An option for you is Savasana, aka just like flop on down to the floor and meet me there. If you want a little bit of a challenge though, follow me in this chair. So we're going to bring our big toes to touch, ankles are a little bit apart, bending our knees, sitting down like we're sitting on an imaginary chair. We're going to want to tilt our pelvis forward. We have sometimes a desire to have this like banana back. You want to tilt your pelvis forward so it's a straight line behind you. Coming into that nice chair pose. With every breath, we're going to lower just a little bit lower. Inhale here, grow tall. Exhale, go a little bit lower. Sustain, inhale. And exhale, go a little bit lower. A little bit more. Inhale. Go a little bit lower. Last one, inhale. And exhale all the way down to the mat. Hopefully, you've Savasanaed, you've plopped down to the floor with me, finding a little bit of space, coming into a nice butterfly pose. As we're still living in this world where we do a lot of sitting, oftentimes a lot of sitting in front of screens, opening up our hips and really taking care of our hip joints is both beneficial but also healing. Healing for releasing all of the tension that we may carry in our hips. Releasing so that we don't feel the added stress and pinches of sedentary life so much as we're trying to work and live in this world. So with your feet touching, coming into this nice butterfly pose, obviously you can try to bring your knees down to the mat. I can't do that, but if you can, that's amazing. That's awesome. However, less important is the knees on the floor. More important is having a spine, like an extended spine. Here, if you want to use your hands, grab your ankles and really pull yourself to sit up straight. On your next inhale, you can use this kind of straight back and slowly start tipping forward. Trying to bend over into cradling your toes, cradling your body in this kind of central space. Try to keep your back as flat as possible, but when you've reached your edge, you can curve your back a little bit to reach the full extension. Remembering that pain is never welcome on our mat, and allowing yourselves to discern the difference between discomfort of growth and pain of overextension. One more breath here, and on the exhale, we'll slowly come back, releasing our feet out in front of us. Wiggle out your feet a little bit, maybe giving them a little bit of a massage. When was the last time that you ever spent time giving yourself a massage? Giving your legs and your arms, your body some love. Our body does so much for us. It carries us, it feeds us, it allows us to work, it allows us to think, it allows us to be liberated. It's ordinary and yet maybe the most beautiful design or example of divinity. Releasing out your legs in front of you again. Bringing your hands up into the sky, sitting up straight and tall. Bring just a little bit taller, creating this beautiful L shape with your body. Inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to reach forward, touch your toes. Maybe your knees come off the mat just a little bit, bending your knees, that's fine. You can either bend your knees so that you can touch your toes, or you can just reach for them as much as you can. feeling that nice pull in maybe your lower back. Again, breathing through any discomfort as we're pushing our edge and becoming more fluid in our back. And also knowing when to pull back in case we are in pain. Our ego has a tendency to drive almost every aspect of our lives. Yoga is this beautiful practice of surrendering, of removing the control over the ego and allowing a voice that is more pure, less selfish, and more well-intended to actually rule the decisions. In this moment, and in all the moments, I challenge you to release your ego. One more breath here. Then exhale, come back into that nice neutral sitting position. A couple more seating postures. Bringing your left foot into the inner portion of your right leg, almost like we're doing tree but seated. We're going to lift our arms up again. This time turn just a little bit so that we're in line with our right extended leg. Inhale here and exhale, lean forward, grabbing our foot. Allowing the stretching to be felt through our legs, through our back. Inhale here, and exhale, release. And switching out your legs, extending out your left leg, bringing your right into the inner portion of your thigh. And we're going to lift up our hands, sitting up straight. Turn our body so that we are facing kind of square with our extended left leg. And on the exhale, leaning forward, grabbing our foot. Leaning into this pose, sending breath into our lower back, into our hips. Two more breaths here. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Inhale fully. And exhale completely, coming back into that neutral extended legs. Scooting up a little bit. Going all the way down into your mat. I'm going to take just a couple of stretches, bringing our knees together in a kind of triangle pose, feet touching the mat. Coming into a cactus arm. Now let our knees fall to the right side of our body. Moving that stretch through our lower back. Trying to keep both of our shoulders on the mat as we allow ourselves to go and wring out our spine and the work that it just put in. One more inhale here. And on the exhale, we're going to come back to that neutral position. Setting again. On the inhale. And on the exhale, letting it fall to the left side of our body. Again, keeping our shoulders, specifically our right shoulder, down to the mat. Allowing your spine to kind of be flushed out. Inhale. Exhale. Next inhale, we're going to come back to that neutral pose. And this time, bring your knees up to your chest. Really allowing for lower back to be stretched. Maybe rolling side to side, allowing the mat to give you a very gentle back massage, releasing all of that tension, all of the work, thinking our spine as it helps us move, as it helps us sit up straight. It helps us do everything like our spine, our core. It sustains us. And then the next pose, last kind of closing pose, grabbing the outside of your feet, coming into a playful, happy baby. Earlier I said that the human body may be one of the most divine examples of things that are ordinary and sacred. And perhaps even more specifically, the joy of a baby, the innocence of a baby. Ordinary, the divine, sacred. They embody a type of liberation that perhaps subconsciously we all desire to come back to. This final pose and this final baby pose, happy baby pose. Allow yourself to be liberated from feeling awkward in the silliness, from feeling awkward on your mat. Just be present in this ordinary moment. It'll be the reminder of how worthy you are to be happy, your joy to be liberated. And how beautiful the ordinary moments are, that they embody the sacredness of our life. One last breath here, and on the exhale, releasing everything down to the mat, letting go of all things, relaxing our body, relaxing our muscles, maybe even closing our eyes as we feel comfortable. Placing our hands both flat on the mat, connecting with the earth that sustains us. This ordinary space that we've walked over probably hundreds of times. Allowing it to hold us, to encapsulate the practice that we just did physically, but also seal in the meditation that we just did mentally and spiritually. Savasana. On the next inhale, maybe slowly wiggle out your toes, wiggle out your fingers, maybe rolling your joints. With as little as effort as possible, coming into the side of your body, creating a little pillow with your right hand, going into this fetal pose. First pose we ever took on in the room. This pose of rebirth. And on your next inhale, with as little effort as possible, perhaps with your eyes still closed, bringing me back into a cross-legged seated position. Hands at heart center. I want to thank you for being part of this practice, an ordinary moment that reminds us of how sacred and divine every moment is. But that you are loved, you are seen, you are necessary for your community, you are liberated from the chains of this world, you are given grace and mercy, you deserve justice. Thank you for sharing this practice. I love you, and God loves you best. Namaste.